Hey everyone, this is Callie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I'm creating a faux wreath window card here using the Swoopy flower set from Simon Says Stamp. What I love about this stamp set is all of its lines and textures, and of course there is a coordinating stencil, which I absolutely love as a alternative way to add color. I love Copic coloring, I love watercoloring, but there is something about stenciling and the ease of adding and blending colors that totally has me every time I go to reach for products. Stencils just grab me. When I stencil images that go along with a stamp set, I love to emboss the image first. So I'm stamping with a black pigment ink, and then I'm going to emboss it with clear embossing powder. This way, my images stay crisp and the lines stay black, and the colors will stay true because they're not going to get muted by any black ink that smears into that color. Okay, so now I am adding some clear embossing powder. I'm going to heat set that before we start ink blending. All right, and now we're ready to stencil, and I'm so excited to use this Brutus Monroe collaboration product with Simon Says Stamp. This is the Stamp and Stencil mat, exclusively created in Simon's colors, and I just love the collaboration. I'm uncovering this mat for the very first time, and it's super sticky. So I just want to make sure that it doesn't tear and peel apart my cardstock when I tack it on. So I'm just going to remove some of that tack with my hands, and I do rub it on my pants off camera just to get some of that lint on there to remove some of that tack. And you can clean it and get that tacky back, so don't worry about it. I just don't want my paper to peel. This mat also fits inside a standard size MISTI just perfectly inside that platform, so you can use it for stamping as well. For today, I'm going to use it for the purpose of stenciling. It's going to hold my cardstock in place, and it's also going to hold my stencil in place in areas where the stencil can adhere itself to that sticky mat. I'm going to start ink blending now that I have it all ready. I'm using positively saturated inks to ink blend all of my flowers and foliage today. And I've lined up my stencil, and I'm going to ink blend using some pinkish purple colors in bubblegum, and then I'll move on to sweets and taffy. So those are the three colors I'm using for the flowers, and as you can see, I've positioned my stencil, and there are 3 layers to these flowers, but I'm just going to use one color at a time. I finished with the lighter bubblegum color, and now I've moved on to sweets with the second layer. And if you haven't noticed, the loose stems and flower do not have a coordinating stencil. So I'm kind of finagling it a little bit just so I can get some help with the existing stencil spaces to help me stencil those other loose images. It's not a perfect fit, but if you finagle it just right or ink blend with a soft hand in areas where it doesn't cover the space exactly, it'll work out just fine. Just moving on to that last darker taffy color here, it's just going to create that oomph on this card, and I just love that it's a deep and rich color to really make your flower pop. Now moving on to the foliage, I have 2 colors, Sprout and Fairway, and so I'm starting again with the lightest color, and I'm filling the entire space with a light hand, and then with that second layer, we're going to go ahead and go in with the darker color. Again, on these loose leaves, we don't have a coordinating stencil, so I am finagling what I have so that I can ink blend as best I can. Okay, so now I'm going to finish up that second layer of the foliage with this Fairway ink. So as you can see, some straightforward ink blending. It's also very simple, but I love that the layers create this dimensional effect with the lines and the texture of these swoopy flowers. Now that I'm done ink blending, I'm going to go ahead and carefully remove my cardstock from this stamp and stencil mat. Again, it's very sticky because it's the first time I'm using it. It's not always going to stay this sticky, so just be really careful the first time you use it. I snipped apart the coordinating dies, and I'm going to die cut my images and then set them aside to work on a background. For the background, I really wanted a white background, but I also wanted texture and some faux dimension, if you will. So I'm using a nested circle die, and I'm going to die cut a window. The first time I used this stamp set, I created a wreath, so it was at the center of my card. This time I wanted to create something offset, and I still wanted to add texture, so I'm using an embossing folder. This is the Sparkling Facets embossing folder, and after I die cut my offset ring or window, I'm going to go ahead and emboss this texture onto my cardstock. It's going to create some visual texture and interest without adding too much color. You can obviously use any color cardstock you like, and you can also ink blend. I really wanted my flowers to be the focal point of my card, so I'm leaving that as the only color for my card. I attached my main focal flower sprig onto that window and decided that I needed to go ahead and adhere the whole thing to a card base. And so now I'm going to go ahead and attach my loose images and sprigs to kind of create this spray that's more elongated, and it kind of frames that window. So it's kind of a faux wreath, but also a window card. Next, I'll work on my sentiment. There were some great sentiments on the stamp set if you didn't get a chance to see it at the beginning of the video. There are some larger swoopy sentiments as well as some type fonts, and the two larger swoopy sentiments will have coordinating dies as well. I've embossed it with gold embossing powder, and after die cutting and trimming down my sentiment strip, I'm going to go ahead and add some foam adhesive on the back of these and adhere them inside that open window using a T-ruler to help me line everything up. And because there's so much white on this card, I thought adding some sequins will help break up the space and add a bit more color. So I'm using a Girl's Best Friend sequin mix. I love this mix. There's lots of great iridescent sequins in there, and they're flat and will coordinate with any colors on your card. So I've attached a few, and that finishes my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested in the products that I use, be sure to check out the links below where everything will be linked for your convenience. I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And also, I'll be linking 2 more videos if you're interested in seeing more. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Bye, everyone.